This is the rarest Porsche you never knew existed. It was faster than a 911 and leaps and bounds ahead of its time, but ultimately it failed. But would you call it a failure if the son of the man that saved your chief rival owned it and cherished it? Either way, this is probably the most important Porsche you could buy today. And you can buy it. This is the 1992 968 Turbo S. But it's not just any Turbo S. This is the factory prototype that served as a testbed for the 14 homologated cars Porsche built. But 14 sounds like a low number for a homologation series, doesn't it? Here's the story. First, let's rewind the clock back to the early 1990s. That's when Porsche was going through what could be politely referred to as a rough patch. In reality, the company almost went bankrupt. The combination of a global recession with an aging lineup and declining sales meant Porsche was struggling, and they were asking everybody internally for ideas and models to build. That's when Gerd Schmidt, head of Porsche Motorsport's customer racing department, and Jürgen Barth had a wild idea. They wanted to take a 968, pull it off the line and homologate it for the ADAC GT Cup competition. So they asked for forgiveness instead of permission, and without the Porsche board approval, pulled a 968 off the line, reached into the parts bin, and built this prototype at Weissach. Once the board saw the car, they agreed to greenlight it as long as they sold 100 units. But 100 is a whole lot more than 14. More on that later. The 968 Turbo RS's debut at the ADAC GT Cup at Avus put just one 968 against 6 911s. So while the E36 M3 GTRs took first and second place, and third was a Honda NSX, fourth was the red 968 in the hands of Manuel Rueter. It was an incredible debut for a race car. None of the incredibly accomplished 911 drivers could even keep up with Rueter's speed and perfect weight balance. In fact, 5th place was a Carrera 2, and 10th, 11th, and 12th place were all Carrera RSRs. The 968 Turbo RS simply dominated Porsche's appearance at the track. In fact, the homologated car was very nearly the fastest car in Porsche's lineup. At 305 horsepower and 368 foot-pounds of torque, the only thing that could beat it was a 911 Turbo 3.6. And that's all out of a 4-cylinder motor, more than 30 years ago. After the car's racing debut, emotions were high. It looked like this car was going to be the dominant one on the track and do the impossible, be a 911 killer. Unfortunately, the rest of the series was kind of a disaster. Rueter couldn't push his car to finish another race, and while there was another 968 Turbo RS that entered, that one never finished higher than 8th. By the 6th race, both of these cars had dropped out due to reliability issues. So despite such a hopeful start, the car just never proved to be a winner. That meant the 968 simply didn't have the race pedigree, history of wins, and story behind it that the legendary 911 did. And the price also led to its downfall. With the homologated Turbo S being 175,000 Deutschmarks, it was cheaper than a 911 Turbo 3.6. But with the 968 being positioned as an entry-level car, the 80,000 Deutschmark premium felt expensive and hard to justify. Porsche greenlit 100 Turbo S's, but when you have that kind of money to spend, most buyers are opting for a 911. And with Porsche being in such a state of turmoil, they couldn't afford a loss, so they only managed to build 14 of these before they shut the program down. Despite all this, Gerd Schmidt was able to sell 10 cars in the first year and another 3 before ultimately the program shut down in 1994. Schmidt had this to say about the car's demise, quote, "Because it was faster than a 911 Turbo, the board decided to stop any further work on the 968 Turbo S/RS project. The technical side of this car was really impressive, but the pricing was simply too high." Now, the 968 Turbo S is one of the most interesting street-legal Porsches you could own. And this right here, this is the creme de la creme, a true one of one. When Porsche first built the car, they didn't immediately sell it. They used it for internal validation and media duties for about 2 years. When they stopped the race series, that was endgame for this car. And that's when Sven Quandt picked up his earlier conversations with Gerd and said, "Hey, now can we negotiate the price?" It's important to note, Sven isn't just any buyer. His father is Herbert Quandt, the man who was instrumental in saving BMW back in the 60s and whose family still owns around half of BMW. So for Sven to buy a competitor's car and keep it for 30 years is a testament to how impressive and important this car is. Sven also owns X-Raid, the most successful private rally team in the cross-country World Cup. And under his ownership, this wasn't just a garage queen. Sven regularly drove this long distances to Varda meetings in Hanover. Then he deregistered it, and for several years he displayed it in his home as a piece of art, a moving sculpture, power and speed made still. Fortunately for us and whoever buys this car, Sven was meticulous about keeping records. The car comes with every single service record, which was always performed at Porsche dealerships. Not only that, it comes with correspondence with Porsche, verifying its provenance as the factory prototype. Almost everything on this car is original, with two notable exceptions. At 72,000 kilometers, the engine was replaced under warranty by the Porsche factory around the time that Sven acquired the car. Also, the transmission was replaced by a base 968 transmission with a Turbo S conversion to match the original. And here's another thing. For almost 30 years, this car was a mystery. Fans knew it existed, but despite searching high and low, nobody knew where this car was. Until Sven sold it in 2019, and as far as we can tell, it crossed the pond in 2023 to get its first US title when it was sold by RM Sotheby's. And now it's here at HCC in Dallas, Texas, ready for its new caretaker. And that could be you. And to add to its rarity, this is the only Turbo S in speed yellow, a paint to sample color at the time that was only made available on the Club Sport in the 911s the next year in 1993. And this takes the Club Sport look and expands on it heavily with body modifications done with tech art in Leonberg in collaboration with Weissach. And part of those modifications was steel bodywork, which makes the car shut with such a satisfying sound. Nice. Ferrero Tech Art helped develop this massive rear wing, a deep chin spoiler, and of course, these are the only 968s to sport turbo badges. One of the biggest differences between the homologated road cars and the race cars are these pop-up headlights, which didn't exist on the RS race cars. This engine gets hot, as you would expect for a race-developed engine. And in fact, there was such a problem with overheating that several of the turbos were destroyed. That's why there are these dual NACA ducts, which are bigger on the RS race car and a bigger intake to suck up as much cold air as possible. That's why the previous owner said you need to drive the car as slow as possible till it warms up so you don't burst the turbo. And you can see evidence of the heat issue when you look at the carbon fiber cross brace. All those modifications help cool this 3-liter 4-cylinder motor with this 1 bar of boost through a K27 turbo, the same one that was later used in the 993 GT2 Evo race car, and the same intercooler that was later used in the 993 GT2. The intake system and top end were derived from the 944 turbo, and to bulletproof it for forced induction, the 4-valve cylinder head was replaced with a 2-valve per cylinder head, and compression ratio was lowered to 8:1. Power is sent through a reinforced 6-speed transmission with longer ratios and a Torsen limited slip differential. And amazingly, this car weighs 20 kilograms less than the Club Sport, which is a huge achievement, especially when you consider the steel bodywork and the extra turbo components. Being a homologated race car, this interior is about as pared down as you would expect. The seats are fixed back bucket seats, wrapped in black cloth, and the windows are wind up, just like a 911 RS. There's another couple of weird things here too. The key is on the wrong side for most Porsches. And of course, being a German prototype, the entire dash is in German. And of course, you have the Turbo S badge stitched into the cloth in the back, if you forget what you're driving. This is Patrick, owner and founder of HCC, where this car is currently being held. So Patrick, tell me, how did this car land in the HCC stable?
I have a good friend and a client who has a collection of Porsches, and he saw this car at the RM auction in Monterey in 2023. He was compelled and impressed with the car just like you are today, with all the facts and the history of the car. So he bought the car, he's owned it for a couple of years. When he first bought the car, he took it on a long drive throughout the West. I know he was in Montana and Colorado and just really enjoyed it. Now it's time to switch up his collection, and he asked me to sell it for him.
So tell me about HCC.
I started this business as a passion project 3 years ago. Never been in the car business before, but always had a strong passion for European sports cars, particularly Porsche. We started it, the community has really accepted HC is the place to go for community and for really interesting cars. So we're really excited about offering this car. It's very unique and it fits really nicely with the kinds of cars that we offer.
So can we take it for a drive?
Let's go.
All right. For insurance reasons, I wasn't allowed to drive the car, but I got a ride along and that gave me a sense of what the car feels like. All of the engineering from the Porsche racing team gave this car a 4.7 second 0 to 60 and pushed it to a top speed of 174 miles an hour, which was insanely quick for the day. This was the most powerful and most exclusive 4-cylinder transaxle car Porsche ever offered. The race version of this car, the Turbo RS, had 350 horsepower, 368 foot-pounds of torque, and cost 228,000 Deutschmarks, almost 3 times the cost of a base 968. Out of the 4 race cars and 14 homologated road-going examples, this is the only factory prototype, making this one of the rarest Porsches ever. So the question remains, was this car just too good for its time? If Porsche could have given it more time to capture the market, work through the issues, and win races, would it have been a broader success? Unfortunately, we'll never know. But we're all lucky that this prototype has survived.
Big thanks to HCC for allowing us to spend some time with this very special car. It's rare to see a true one of one, and it's even rarer to really get to explore one. At the time of filming, this car is still available for its next caretaker. So if you're interested, contact HCC. We'll put the details in the description. I'm Chaz Forrester. Thanks for watching.